excellent. So, the thread, as I say, this posh thing, the posh name for going through the code line by line. We go through it in order, from top to bottom of our page. I never skip a line, and I never suddenly grab this line down here and go back up to it. We go in order, line by line. That means it is synchronous. In order of encountering top to bottom down the page, that is the order we follow. And single-threaded, one thing at a time. I'm not starting to execute a function and continuing to do that while simultaneously continuing down the rest of my code at the same time. If I start executing a function, my thread is not continuing down the code down the rest of the page. I'm going to go inside of that function and start executing the code inside of it. It is single-threaded, one line at a time, one thing at a time, in order. All right, so now we talk about the most important piece of, the most important tool in our JavaScript kit, which is the function. Functions are a way of wrapping up some instructions, some code to be done later on. And we give them a label for now. We give the code we've written a label for now, which saves us having to write all that code out every time we want to run it. So we just wrap it up, give it a label, and then we refer to it later on and say, go run that functionality. Okay, let's see that. So we have declared numbers 3 multiplied by 2 as a function. What is our next line of code to declare or to run Philip?
We declare a variable named output.
Output, excellent.
And we set it equal to the evaluated result of multiplied by 2.
Aha, so we declare output, but we don't yet know what's going to be stored in output. So you called it the evaluated result. You're basically saying this right-hand side here, the calling of multiply by 2, is going to go and do some work, and it's going to get a result. That means it's going to evaluate to a result. It's going to get some sort of output, and that is then what's going to be stored in output. Perfect. All right, very nice. By the way, how do I know that I haven't yet finished my work on the right-hand side here? What symbols tell me that on the right-hand side here there's work to be done?
The parentheses.
The parentheses. They say, go look for that function code, multiply by 2. Yep, go look for it. Go look for multiply by 2. What are we passing in, Philip?
The number 4, but the parameter is input.
Perfect. The number 4. And this, the return output, the return value of this function call is going to be stored in output. Perfect. All right. Now, we know that this right-hand side has not finished doing its work yet because we can't store multiply by 2 parens 4 in output. That's not what we're going to store here. We're going to go and do the work of running this function. Whatever gets returned out, whatever the output is, we're going to store in output. When we call a function, it's going to do a bunch of work inside of it, and whatever gets returned out is going to almost fully replace this function invocation, this function calling, and then that's going to be stored in output. So for now, we don't yet know what to put in output, but JavaScript never leaves anything there's never a label without a value. There's always some value on the right-hand side. It never moves on without putting some value. What value does it default to? Anyone know?
Undefined.
Undefined, not null. Some folk might think it's not. It defaults to undefined. We don't yet know what to store in output yet. So just leave it undefined. And now go and start running the code inside this function. And by the way, anything we store, anything we declare inside this function, put in a little memory just for that function. Not global memory, but a little memory just for that function. It sounds a lot like we've got to spin up an execution context. Just like we did for our overall code, now for the function code, the code inside that function multiplied by 2, we're going to do what is called a function level or local. Let's call it local. Local because, who knows? Local because it's a little nearby, not big like global. A local execution context. There it is. And just like we had for our overall execution of our code, a global memory where everything was stored, and we were going through the code line by line, we hit const num equals 3, we hit multiply by 2 is declared, and then we hit output. Well, we don't get to continue with our thread for now. Our thread is going to weave its way in and start running the code inside multiply by 2. Now that weaving into the thread and that local memory together are known as an execution context, a space in which to run our code of multiply by 2. So what is the first thing that we're going to do inside that multiply by 2 function, Skylar?
So you're going to declare a variable result?
That's the second thing we're going to do, definitely. What's the first thing we're going to do, Skylar?
You're going to actually set input number to 4.
Input number to 4. So input number is our what, Lewis?
That's your parameter.
Parameter. That's to say that when I define multiply by 2, I said, you want to be able to use me multiple times. And you want to be able to use my multiply by 2 functionality multiple times, but you don't yet know what number you want to multiply by 2. So leave a placeholder, input number. And then when you run me, when you execute me, when you invoke me, call me, they all mean the same thing. When you do that with parens, only way to run, well, the way we're going to see today to run, make sure you fill that input number placeholder, parameter, blank in with an actual value, which is what, Lewis?
4.
Which is our
Argument.
Our argument.
When you run the functions.
When we call the function, we have an argument. That's our actual value that we stick in when we run the function. Perfect. Skylar, what gets assigned to a result? We declare a result, what gets assigned to it?
The valid result of running 4 times 2.
Perfect, which is
8.
good job. Gifted. And now, Skylar, keep me going. What happens?
So then you're going to return that result variable.
The result, let's say the value of result. So when JavaScript sees return result, it goes, what is result? Oh, it's 8, and returns that value out into what, Skylar?
Into the global execution context.
Into what global variable?
Output.
Perfect, return 8 into output. And our thread now weaves its way back out to global. And how do we know to exit multiply by 2? What keyword tells you to exit, Philip?
Return.
Return. This is what ends the running of my multiply by 2 function, returns us back out to the global execution context. Our thread was going through, and now it's back out where it encounters what line, Philip?
Declaring a new variable called new output.
New output, which would have the return value of the call to multiply by 2 with the input of 10?
Correct.
10. And that would spin up another execution context. We're not going to go into it for now. New output will default to undefined until it gets the return value, of our call to multiply by 2. What we can see here though, whatever that would return it out into new output.